Ty Crandall here with Credit Suite, and today we are talking about business credit scores, i.e. corporate credit scores. We're going to be talking about the third type of credit scores that you have now. If you've joined us the last couple weeks, we've decoded several different things. First of all, we talked about your consumer credit scores 2 weeks ago. Thank you guys very much for the hearts. I appreciate that. We decoded consumer credit scores a couple weeks ago. Then last week we talked about our business bank credit score that's kind of kept secret. This is a score you'll never see because the banks don't publish it. Will you explain how all that worked? Hey, thank you, Working For You LLC. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for coming in. And this week we talk about business credit scores, corporate credit scores. We're going to decode these for you here. Gray House Consulting, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Today we're going to decode corporate credit scores, business credit scores. We're going to decode how your business is scored, how your EIN number has its own scores, what those scores are, how they work, most importantly, how to control the scores. Guys, you're going crazy with the loves. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to decode how your business credit scores work. If you're not familiar with business credit, which if you come in regularly, you probably are by now. What's up? I appreciate it. What's up, Jerome? Thanks for coming in. Then you already know that your EIN has its own credit scores. Your EIN has its own credit profile. You could get credit under that EIN number and get high limit revolving credit card accounts very, very, very quickly. Working For You LLC, not pulling credit now. Right now all we do is pull credit through Credit Safe, and Credit Safe was not giving us good results. We were pulling a bunch of different companies, not getting any results. So soon we'll probably have the ability to pull a couple reporting agencies. Once we do, we'll be back to pulling some reports and scores in the near future. So again, if you're just joining us, when we're talking about business credit, we're talking about getting a credit profile and score for your business EIN number. Well, in the business world, you have a bunch of different business credit scores that actually judge you based on a bunch of different information. And today we're going to decode this. We're going to look at Equifax. We're going to look at Experian. We're going to look at Dun & Bradstreet's business credit scores, 3, 4, 5 of their scores that each of them have, what they are, how they work, most importantly, how you can control them. If you know how your scores work, they're fairly easy to control. And it's a big deal to be able to control them because your business credit scores determine if you'll get a business loan, how much of a loan you'll get, the rates and terms you'll pay on that loan. Pretty important if you ever want to get money for your business. And they'll also decide if you get credit cards, how high limit of credit cards you get, and the score or the rates that you pay on those credit cards. So the bottom line is, if you own a business, if you're thinking about starting a business, and you want money now or in the future to get it, your business credit scores are going to be very important to helping you get money. And today I'm going to teach you how these things work, teach you how to control them, hacks you can use, legal hacks you can use to control them, so that way you can have the best score and that way get the best loans, the best credit cards, the highest limit, the most amount of money to fund your business. So let's go to the whiteboard. Talking about, and again, if you're just jumping in, I'm not going to go through this review because we went through a lot of information. If you go to creditsuite.com/scope, you can get all these details. We talked about your consumer credit scores, your FICO score. We talked about your bank credit scores, how all these things work. But today we're talking about this. We're going to be talking about your business credit scores. And we're going to start right here with Dun & Bradstreet. So Dun & Bradstreet's the most popular reporting agency in the world. And if you don't think business credit's legitimate, no, D&B has been around 70 years before TransUnion. So D&B was around 70 years before the first consumer credit reporting agency was around. They have been around a long time. And the most common score in the business credit scoring world that they control is called the Paydex score. Thank you guys very much for the love. I appreciate that. So the Paydex score is the most popular credit score you're going to run into for your business. And there's two different aspects to how this business credit score works. One, and most importantly, is your payment history. Second is called your weighted average, and I'll explain to you how both of these work. So the way the D&B scores work is your score literally reflects how you pay your bills. So if you get some accounts, and let's look at some real accounts. These are real approvals that people on our live streams tell us about. We verify with their credit reports. So let's say you come in and get an account with Apple for $12,500. And let's say you use this account and you buy a computer. Well, when you get the invoice, or the minute you put it on there and you get your bill, then from the minute you get your bill, how you pay will determine what your business credit score is. If Apple was the only account you had and you paid that bill right on time, promptly, you'd have an 80 score. If you got that Apple credit card and you paid it early, you'd have a 90 score. If you paid it really early, before the discount period even, you'd have a 100 score. So the bottom line with D&B is all you have to do is pay your bills on time or early. The earlier you pay them, the better your score will be. Well, this is a pretty big deal. Because if you ever want to get $5, $10, $20, $30,000, $40,000 limit accounts, then all you really have to do is get some accounts that report to the reporting agencies we've talked about before in the past. Uline, Quill, Gimplers, Granger. Buy some stuff at these companies. Pay your bills on time or early. They report, and you'll get a good score. And your good score, how good it is how soon you pay the bill. Now, one of the questions is, what if I pay the bill before I get the bill? So for example, what if you go to Uline, buy stuff, and you pay them before you get the bill? Well, that actually would not count towards your payment history. So Uline, Quill, they offer you what are called trade accounts or net 30 terms. Well, the net 30 starts when they ship the items out to you on net 30 accounts. So you don't ever want to pay those bills early. You want to pay them the minute they send you the invoices, which is when they ship the item out. When they've shipped the item out, that's when they send you the invoice. That's when that clock starts ticking. The sooner you pay it after that, the higher your scores will be. Now, for revolving credit, it's as soon as you get your bill. So as soon as the billing cycle's done and you get your bill, the sooner you pay that, the higher your score will be. Our AutoZone account has increased to 5,500 limit. Awesome. Christine, congratulations. So AutoZone, you're at 5,500. Glad to see you on here. I haven't seen you in a while. AutoZone, so you add 2,000, and now I'm going to mark that out and change that to 5,500. So Christine's on with us and has a lot of different business credit approvals. Which Tier 2 credit line is the easiest after doing your first 5 trade lines? Bad car accident. Well, I hope you're okay. There's a lot of them that are fairly easy. You can go and we look at some of these. Granger, if you haven't already. Apple and Dell are fairly easy to get. Chevron is a fairly easy one to get. And Amazon is fairly easy to get after you get about 5 to 7 accounts. So remember, as you get these accounts, it all comes down with D&B to how you pay your bills. You pay your bills early, you get a good score. So what is weighted average, which I just showed you? Well, the other part of D&B's credit score is called weighted average. I pay mine the day they say they ship. That's perfect. Working for you, LLC. That's what you should do. Because remember, with net 30 accounts, it's not even considered a term until the item ships. If you paid it early, it's the same as paying cash. You don't get credit for that payment history. But on a revolving account, when you get the invoice, you need to pay the bill as soon as possible. The sooner you pay, the higher your scores. If you're paying your bills on time or early, you're going to get an 80 to 100 score. Experian and Equifax, you get that score with 1 account reporting. With D&B, you need 3 accounts reporting to get a score. So once we get some of these accounts reporting, you get that good score. That's when you move into Tier 2, the Apple, the Dell, the Staples, etc., etc. So weighted average means that the higher limit account you have, the more weight it has into your overall score. So you need to know what your limits are, and you should ask your creditors. Unlike your consumer credit reports, your business credit reports oftentimes won't have your limit on there. They'll have the highest amount of credit you've recently used, but not your actual limit. So you need to know what your limits are. How serious do creditors view medical bills and default? On the consumer side, again, we're talking about business credit scores here, guys. So if you're asking about consumer credit, it really matters. Your score matters more than the bills. They don't really care a lot about medical bills, but what they care about is what your score is, and how much they care depends about what you're trying to apply for. But on the business, who is it? Visa 545. Welcome to Periscope. It's your first day. Congratulations. Welcome. So with business credit scoring, the most important thing is to pay your bills on time. With weighted average with Dun & Bradstreet, that means your highest limit accounts have more weight in your overall score than your lower limit. Here's what that means. It means if you have a $10,000 limit account and a $5,000 limit account and you had to go late on one, go late on the $5,000 one, because going late on the higher limit account, the 10 grand one, would have more damage to your score than the lower limit account. Pretty simple. So D&B's Paydex score is pretty simple. All you have to do is pay your bills as agreed or early. You'll get a good score. How good is your score? How early did you pay? How bad is your score? How late did you pay? So as long as you pay your bills on time or early, you're going to get a good score. If you ever have to go late on your lower limit accounts first. It'll cause less damage. Nav says that I have an A with Experian Experian, is that good or is that higher scores? Well, it depends, and what might happen is it depends on if you're looking at their consumer or business scores. From what I've seen, because we actually use NAV as well, with NAV we'll give you a real Experian score. So they should give you an actual physical score as well as just an actual grade as well. Aldo Santos, welcome. It's your first day on Periscope. Business. So they should give you an actual score. We pull NAV reports too. They give us a clear score of what your score is. So look deeper into what they have, and if you don't see an actual score, ask them about it, because the NAV reports I've seen will physically give you a score and also a grade such as A, just so you know that. So bottom line is, okay, thanks, no problem. So that being said, Dun & Bradstreet's Paydex scores. Pay your bills on time or early. You need 3 accounts reporting to get a score. The earlier you pay, the better. If you're going to go late, pay your lower limit accounts. For one quick look at D&B scores, if you were paying 30 days late on average, you'd have a 50 score. Most of the time, a 70 to 80 is what credit issuers and lenders want to see, which means you're paying on time or early or no late or than 14 days late. Now, when we talk about Equifax's credit risk score, which is the most common score from Equifax, this is used by a lot of lenders. So if you're interested in getting a business loan, you should know about this. So the way that Equifax's business credit risk score works, it's pretty much exactly the same. You only need 1 account reporting to Equifax to get a score, and how high your score is how you pay. If you pay as agreed, you get a 90 score. If you pay 1 to 30 days late, you get an 80 to 89, 60 to 79 days late, 31 to 60, and so on and so on. The bottom line is, with D&B and Equifax, all you have to do is pay your bills as agreed and you get a good score. D&B, you need 3 accounts reporting to get a score. Equifax, you need 1 account reporting to get a score. Now, Experian is a little different. Experian is kind of like a FICO score, right? Let's look at a consumer FICO score. Here's consumer FICO. 35% of your score's payment history, 30% utilization, length of credit 15, new credit. This is why it's hard to get a good consumer score. If you really look at the consumer score, if you improve one part of the score, you damage another. Let me give you an example. Let's say you don't have a lot of accounts reporting and you need more payment history. So you add new credit. Well, then you put inquiries on your credit report and damage this part of your credit score. Let's say you get a mortgage because you need to have a good credit mix. Well, then you hurt your utilization because your loan amount's the same as what you owe. So whenever you try to improve one part of the consumer FICO score, you literally damage another. It's just the way it's designed. So it takes you many years of well-disciplined borrowing to get good scores, to get mortgages and car loans and credit cards. Now let's look at what we just learned. Business scores are simple. They're only based on how you pay. So if you get accounts that report and you pay them on time, you get a good score. That's all that's needed. This is why you can get really high limit revolving accounts. 2,000 at Amazon, 3,500 at Amazon, 35,000 at Amazon, 11,000 at Visas and Bank of Americas, and 40,000 Best Buys, and all these different approvals. You can get this stuff in about 90 days with business credit, very quickly, much faster than you can with consumer credit. Why this matters? Well, you can get all this credit with no personal guarantee, no personal credit check, no collateral requirements, no cash flow requirements. So even when you cannot get a business loan, your credit's horrible, you just started your business, you have no revenue, you have no collateral, you are not lendable, then what happens is you can still get these kind of limits on business credit cards. How's that possible? It's simple. I just showed you. You can get it because your scores are easy to get and make them high because you get some accounts that report there and you pay them as agreed. So let's look at this process. Let's say you come in, you get a Uline, a Quill, Gimplers, and a Granger. You buy stuff, you get an invoice, you pay the bill. They report, hey, welcome ABC Credit today. They report to Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax. Let's say 3 of them report to D&B, 1 goes to Experian, 1 goes to Equifax. Well, your Equifax and D&B score are high as long as you paid those bills as agreed. I have 3 trade lines on D&B, 2 Experian. When do I go to the tier 2? You need to have 5 reported payment experiences. And once you do, there's a lot of them that'll approve you. Dell is an easy one to start with, and so is Apple. Granger, Office Depot. Those are some of the easiest ones to get approved for pretty early. Amazon is pretty early to get, easy to get approved with as well. So is Chevron and Apple. So any of those, you should have some success if you have the 5 trade lines reporting. So what happens is now you got some of those accounts, you paid them as agreed, so you instantly get good scores. Now what happens is you come in and you go to Apple And Apple sees that you have two things. They see you have multiple accounts reporting to the reporting agencies, and they also see that you have a good score. So with multiple trades and a good score, boom, they approve you for $7,500 or for $12,500, for example. These are two real approvals. They approve you for these without even needing a personal credit check. Because now what they're doing is they're using your business credit reports with D&B, Equifax, and Experian to get approved. These show some trade lines. These show a good score. They don't need your personal social. They don't need your consumer credit report. They make the lending decision off this. You get approved without a personal guarantee, without a personal credit check. That's how it works, and how it's possible is because of business credit scores. Because the scores are based on how you pay. So all you have to do is get accounts that report, pay them as agreed or early, you get a good score, the new creditors then pull the good scores, pull the reports, and boom, you're approved. Now again, Experian IntelliScore is a little bit different. Experian is kind of like what we just showed you with FICO, right? On the consumer FICO score, there's a bunch of different aspects to the score. Well, with Experian's IntelliScore, 50 to 60% of your score is payments and balances. 10 to 15% is your utilization. 10 to 15 is derogatory items reporting. 5 to 10 of your score is historical behavior. 5 to 10% is age, industry, and size. So, there's a lot of factors, but let's really break this down. Is there really a lot of factors? Let's use the high numbers here. Payments, balances, how you pay, 60%. Derogatory items, how you pay, another 15%, so we're at 75%. Historical behavior, how you pay, another 10%. So even though Experian has a lot of different factors that actually are used into its IntelliScore calculation, about up to 85% of their score is still based on how you pay. So 100% of D&B's Paydex score is based on how you pay. 100% of Equifax's credit risk score is how you pay. And about up to 85% of Experian's IntelliScore is how you pay. So you might not be able to control the age of your business, the industry, the size, but you can control how you pay. And if you pay well and you even have your utilization good, you're going to get a good IntelliScore as well, even with good payment history. So with all three of these, the major factor of 100% of the factor for Equifax D&B, mostly with Experian, is how you pay. Somebody says, how many vendor accounts you start off with when you start building your business credit? The answer is 5. You need 5 business credit accounts before it's really safe to start moving to store credit and start getting Staples, AutoZone, Amazon, Lowe's. Now some of these, and people keep asking, which accounts do I start with, are more difficult. So a Sears or a Costco, they might want to see 7, 8, 9, 10 trades. And that's where, if you're not working with us where we tier it out for you, then you're trial and error. You might go to Staples and get denied. Then you go to Office Depot, Apple, and get approved. Then you use these accounts and get a Chevron and get approved and use that account. Then you go back to Staples and get approved. So don't be frustrated. If you get denied, it just means you probably don't have enough trade lines yet for that source. Apply for some other sources and other retailers. Get approved, use that credit, and as more trade lines show, you'll be able to get approved for the others. If you can find one that reports to 2, then that's 2 trade lines. Yeah, it's kind of so. What they really refer to these things as is payment experiences. So what you really need is not 5 accounts, and I try to simplify it, but what you really need is 5 payment experiences. And the reporting of an item to one reporting agency is a payment experience. So let's say you get with a company that reports to D&B and Experian. That would count as 2 payment experiences. Now my advice, I'd still get 5 actual accounts, 5 trade lines total. I wouldn't care if it reported to both. Even though it does count as 2, give yourself a buffer. Get 5 actual accounts, even if that gives you 6, 7, 8 payment experiences. That way you know you're safe to really move on to store credit. So bottom line, the main scores in the reporting agencies that reporting agencies all have, D&B, Equifax, and Experian, are all based on payment history. But you should know, I love these scopes. Working for you. I love you too, man. I appreciate you coming on here. Thank you for loving the scopes. And I want to see some super hearts. Like they told me when I logged in today, there's some kind of super hearts, but I haven't seen the super heart yet. So if you find those things, you use those super hearts. I want to see what that thing looks like. See, you guys are, you're going crazy in the hearts. I love that. I got to figure out how to get those super hearts they talk about. Okay, so there's D&B, Experian, and Equifax. These guys could actually give you 4 other credit scores on your credit report as well. These scores aren't as popular, but you may run into them. You have to pay for those. Well, working for you LLC, man, you love coming. You should go pay and get those super hearts so you can use those things. I want to see that. Greed, Jerome Belcher, you get it too, man. Okay, so here's what we're doing. So there's 4 other scores that D&B offers that aren't as much of a deal, or as important. Okay, just for you. No, don't go buy it. Don't go waste money on my behalf, please. I need you to put your money back into your business. If you want to do something for me, invest the money back into yourself and build your successful business. That's all I can ever ask. So there's 4 other scores you're going to look at. D&B, well, we'll come back to this last. Delinquency predictor, very similar to this. Paydex score has to do with how you've paid in the past. This is a predictor score. So this is what they predict is going to happen. So there's 2 kinds of scores that D&B offer. I'm joining your team next week. Oh, you should be. You should come in as a partner. Then you could offer business credit financing to your customers and work with our team. That would be awesome. So delinquency predictor, D&B offers 2 different kinds of scores. They offer what are called predictive scores. Scores that you are coming in as a partner. That's awesome. I want to work with you. They predict your likelihood of default. Then they have these other scores which are based on actual past data. So your Paydex is based on how you've paid in the past. They also have a similar score called the delinquency predictor that predicts that you might go late in the future. They also have a financial stress score. So does Experian. They call it something different, a financial stability risk score. And so does Equifax. They call it a business failure risk score. But all these scores do is they depict whether or not you're going to go bankrupt or not in the next 12 months. They take into account your financial data and your payment history and calculate it into a score that predicts whether you'll go bankrupt. Your SIR rating is a supplier evaluation rating, and this is used if you are a supplier to depict if you're going to go out of business and stop fulfilling on your orders. That's not really a big deal unless you're a supplier. The D&B rating is actually fairly important because you can control this one, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how D&B's rating works. So to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/credit suite. I think we did a recent, no, we haven't yet. We're going to be doing actually go to creditsuite.com/Periscope, and then you'll get our free guide about building business credit. You'll also get registered for our webinar. I'm doing a webinar, I think, next month, and the webinar is going to outline details of how your credit scores work, and we're going to talk about the D&B rating. What matters with the D&B rating is this. You can control this sucker because what it does is it takes into account your financial data and it gives a rating of how much your score is. Now this is going to be important, especially if you want a bank loan. I'm going to tie all this together in a minute. So your D&B rating takes into account financial data. The top tier you can get into is they have trade lines reporting, one, and they have your actual financials. They have your tax returns. They have access to your actual financials. That puts you in the highest tier, and if your financials and your payment history reflect your low risk, then that's really crucial to getting a bank loan. So understand that. You might come in and say, okay, look, I want to use my business credit score to get a bank loan. Well, here's the problem. The problem is they're not going to just look at Paydex then. They're going to look at other of your scores as well, including your D&B rating. So your D&B rating takes into account your tax returns and your actual past payment history. So if you don't give your D&B your credit or your financials, your tax returns, and if they can't get them, then they're not going to put you in the top tier. They're going to put you into a middle tier if they only have payment history to go off of. If they have no payment history and they don't have the trade lines to go off of, then what they're going to do is put you in the lowest tier. So here's the problem. The problem is that your D&B rating, if they don't have your tax returns, they use your employee number instead. So when you file that thing with the annual reports, hi, Davut6789, welcome. So if you file your annual reports with the Secretary of State, then it asks you how many employees you have. Well, D&B will get this data, and they could score you low with the D&B rating just because, are you a hacker? That's awesome. So we've got a troll on here. It looks like Devadu6789. Okay, so we're going to give him a chance, but I think he's a troll, and I think we're going to block him. But we're going to give you one chance to actually stay and learn, or just see if you're a troll. If you're a troll, everybody knows here what we'll do. We'll say goodbye. But if you want to learn, you'll learn some cool stuff. So D&B rating you can control. If you have good tax returns, get them to D&B. They give you an easy way to do so. And if you get them good tax returns and you have good payment history, then, bye troll, you know exactly how that works. Then you'll have the best category or best top tier that they use to categorize you for your D&B rating. If you don't, they're going to go off the number of employees you have. And if you're a newer business and don't have a lot of employees, then you can have a damaged D&B rating just because they don't have your tax returns. So, okay, so here we go. I tried, man. I tried. So I'm going to go ahead and block you. It was nice having you. Thanks for coming in. Okay, so bye-bye, troll. All right, so he's gone. So the bottom line is you can control your D&B rating. If you have good tax returns, get them to D&B. They'll give you a higher rating. If you have bad tax returns, keep them from D&B. It'll hurt your rating. But also keep in mind, if they don't have your tax returns and you don't have a lot of employees, it can adversely affect your D&B rating. That's something you should know. So, Experian also has a blended score. They will take into account your consumer and your business credit scores. For those of you that have low consumer scores, don't worry. This is rarely used. And if they do use it, they have to notify you that they're using it. So they have to actually get your permission to pull their business credit reports. So if Experian, if anybody asks you for permission to pull your credit reports on the business side, and they're not just trying to get your consumer reports, be wary, because Experian has a blended score that they have to have your permission for you to access, but it actually combines your consumer and your business credit score with Experian. So be aware that that exists. So Equifax, we talked about the risk score, the supplier evaluation rating with D&B. Equifax has the same thing. They actually call it, it's right here, which is the credit risk score for suppliers. It risks if you're, it basically rates if you're a supplier, the likelihood that you may go out of business and stop fulfilling on your orders. We talked about the business failure score. It depicts your risk of going bankrupt in the next 12 months, takes into account your financial data. They have payment index, which again is basically a historical look at how you've paid your bills, very, very similar to their credit risk score. If you pay your bills good, you're going to have a good score there, okay? And they also have the delinquency score goes from 101 to 662, and again, that's what I just described. Then they have a payment index, which is a dollar weighted, and it also has to do with your most recent history. So the payment index takes into account your most recent accounts with Equifax, weights your higher limit accounts heavier into the score than the lower limit accounts, and gives you a good score. So a lot of scores here, but let's dive in a little deeper. First, you pay your bills as agreed, you get all three good scores here. You pay your bills as agreed, you're also going to have a good delinquency predictor score. You're also going to have probably a good blended score unless your consumer credit's bad. You're also going to have a good delinquency score with Equifax. If you have good financials, good tax returns, remember, for your business, your tax returns are public information, okay? So if you have good tax returns and they get access to those, then that is going to affect with D&B your D&B rating. And with the Equifax, it's going to affect your payment index, okay, as well. It will calculate into that. And your tax returns, the number of employees you have, your payment history, will also calculate into your business failure score, and will also calculate in here to the financial stress score. Do they take your particular business industry into account when formulating these scores? And Experian does, right here, 5 to 10% of their score. They do. The others don't. So I've actually seen Experian scores where they're lower, and they say the reason is because the industry is high risk. So be aware that that can happen, and make sure they have a proper low risk SIC. We deal with business credit financing. We also have software, so we file our SIC as a software company, so we don't face that risk, for example. So yes, they will do that, but most of these scores don't. Most of these scores take into account two things: your payment history, which is most important, and the second is your financial data you make in revenue and profit. And here's the other problem. The other problem is that if your tax returns aren't good or they don't have them, then they're going to go off the number of employees you have. This is why it's tougher to get a bank loan. A lot of people think you're going to just build your business credit with good scores, you get a bank loan, but here's the problem. With a bank loan, they're looking at your whole report. They see your employees, they see your revenues, they see your profits, they see your SIC. These scores are calculated and taken into account that also reflect you a lower score if you have fewer employees. So bank loans are harder and harder to get as a startup because, again, your employees and the size of your business starts calculating into things like these other scores if you don't have financials on record. So we've been through a lot and a lot more to come. We're going to talk a lot more about business credit financing in the future scopes. But now in the last few weeks, and if you've missed this, go to creditsuite.com/scope. Through your 3 types of credit. We decoded how your consumer credit scores work. We've talked about your bank credit scores and how those work. Thanks, Working For You LLC. I appreciate it. And now we've decoded how your business credit scores work. We've talked about how to control all 3 of these. So now you can move forward and have the best consumer credit scores, bank credit scores, and business credit scores, which is going to help you become the most lendable. You have bad consumer credit scores, you can still build your business credit scores really quickly to start getting high limit revolving credit accounts. And remember, your bank credit scores don't even matter unless you're going to walk into your bank and get a loan. A lot of other alternative lenders don't look at your bank scores, but still look at your business credit scores. So in the weeks to come, we'll talk more about business credit, building business credit, those type of things. If you have any questions in the meantime, get in touch with us. info@creditsuite.com. 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. You can go to creditsuite.com/scope to see all of our previous Periscopes. You can also, or all of our previous scopes, you can go to creditsuite.com/Periscope to get our free guide on building business credit. So I look forward to talking to you next week. We're going to be talking more about business credit and loans and a lot of other stuff we're going to be covering in the weeks to come. I look forward to seeing you then. Any questions in the meantime, get in touch with us. 877-600-2487. info@creditsuite.com. Thanks for the loves. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for all the comments and the engagement. I appreciate it. And it's all, Super Heart LLC, you got it, dude. Look at that. This thing is sick, man. What is up with that? That is so cool. You really paid and got that thing. Thank you so much, man. Look at that. That is unbelievable. The Super Heart. I've never seen those before. That is so cool. Thank you very much for doing that, man. That's awesome. I've never seen the Super Hearts. And now today, I actually got a chance to see it. So that's pretty cool of you to do it. I look forward to working with you when you come in as a partner next week. Jerome Belcher, thanks. Working For You LLC, thank you. Thank you for the Super Hearts. That's one of the coolest things that somebody's done on Periscope. I appreciate that. I look forward to talking to you all next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, where we're going to be talking more about building your business credit and getting business loans. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Working For You LLC, for those Super Hearts. That was pretty awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See ya.